fill mine up. Oh. Well, that was kind of loud. Too close to the speaker. I should know better than that. There we go. Morning, guys. Morning. Morning. I can't tell if you guys are frozen or if you're just... Belly's full, ready for a nap? Yeah. Don't nap yet. How are you, Nick? You're here. I'm glad. We missed you. You guys are the brave, I put it out there yesterday that, hey, the crazy ones, like me, like, hey, use your best judgment. I know it's cold out there, but I know God's got something for you guys today. Everybody's been here before, so I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of what we do and don't do, but we're just starting off this second one of the restoration series, and we're going to talk about cars and what it takes to restore a car, kind of like that. I know when my wife would watch a lot of the home improvement shows, she's like, well, it only took them an hour to do that addition on the house. you know, what's taking you so long? And I'm like, hey, you don't realize, like, some of these restorations take 3 years, $150,000, $200,000, but they don't tell you that. It just seems like maybe 2 or 3 episodes and they're done. It's like, wow, that's cool. Well, in reality, it's not that way. In the same way with our spiritual restoration, it doesn't work that way either. It's not an overnight thing. It's something that has to be worked on. So we talked about these different car shows that are out there, overhauling, Gas Monkey Garage, just counting cars. The one we watched was Graveyard Cars. So we'll look at some different. I thought it'd be cool to watch those during breakfast, just to kind of see what's there and what's not there. I want to tell you, God is still in the restoration business, guys. He's never stopped. From the time that Adam and Eve were in the garden, that restoration started. After they took a bite of the apple and were, booted out of the car shop, he started restoring them. So my question to you guys is, where are you at now? Are you that 85 and a half Escort? Yeah. I did, if you can tell on the side of it, I did get the GT. It's the GT version of the 4-cylinder with air conditioning and stuff.
That's pretty sharp.
It's nice. That's nice. But I think I'd rather have that. 67 Corvette, 427, 4-speed. As Tim the Toolman Taylor would say. That car's been restored. Actually, both of them have been restored. But where are we at? Where are you at? Maybe you just need a good buff, paint job, clean up along the edges, spark plugs, tune up, I don't know, tires, rims. Maybe you need a new engine. Maybe you need some body work done. Maybe your wiring is messed up. Maybe you need that. Maybe you look like that Barracuda that was all burnt up in the fire. Maybe you're there, I don't know. This is like a personal journey for each one of us. My restoration doesn't look like Dan's restoration, or Nick's, or even Kelton's restoration. It's your own thing. The thing you got to realize is that you have to start it. You have to realize what it is. So that's what we're going to go through. Phase 2, we're going to get into it. Are you guys ready? You guys ready to start this? Because this is where the rubber meets the road and we start tearing things apart. The beginning of restoration. So phase 2 of any restoration project, phase 1 was you have to assess, is it worth it? How much time are you willing to put into it? How much money are you willing to put into it? How much investment are you willing to make? And we talked about how God didn't care if you were that Escort, 72 Pinto, a car that explodes when hit from behind, or you're the 67 Corvette. You all have value. Where the world's going to tell you, take that Escort and put it in the junkyard, or whatever. So the part of the restoration, phase 2, is disassembly. You have to start tearing things down. Because if you don't know what's underneath. You don't know what's underneath that paint. You don't know until you pull the wiring out, strip the interior out. You know, you could have door cards that look great, door panels that look really awesome. But you take them off, maybe there's mold on the back of them. There's stuff in that door that you don't see because that's there. And how many times do we walk around our life with a mask on or with our clothes on to hide the rust, the dirt, the stains that we have? I think we as men, we do it a lot. I think it's one of our defense mechanisms. I don't want Jason to know the bad stuff about me because he's going to think less of me. You know, it's reality. Men do that. Women do it too, but I think men are really good at it. Put that mask on and this is who I want you to see me as, not who I really am. The problem with that is when you get around your godly brothers and you keep that mask on, they can't help you. If you're not honest with you, if you're not open. And I'm not saying if it's your first or second or third time here or anywhere around godly men, you're going to start, spilling your guts, to them. Hey, this is, hey, by the way, I'm cheating on my wife right now. And I just left the bar last night, and I've been doing coke. I mean, that doesn't happen on a first or second meeting with somebody. That's why we have to have relationships. That's why we have to spend time together. And that's one of the biggest problems we have in the church right now with men. And women as well, but we're going to deal with men here. I don't want to spend time with Nathan or Ken because guess what? I might slip up. And they might find that rust on my lower quarter panel. And then they might ask me about it. What am I going to say? Am I going to lie to them? Am I going to try to hide it with some Bondo? Or the chrome tape? The chrome spray paint for the bumpers? I remember those. It wasn't chrome spray. But we do that. And it takes courage and it takes trust to share with other people, no matter who it is. And the only way you do that is by being consistent and having integrity. And when somebody tells you something, unless you're given permission to share it, keep your mouth shut. Don't, oh, by the way, we need to pray for Nathan because, shut up. God knows. We need to pray for Nathan. That should be it. Okay. How many times have you said that, hey, we need to pray for them, and they go, we need to pray for somebody, anonymous, whatever, and they go, what's her name? I just said they don't want to be known. Well, but I really need to know their name and what they're going through so that I can pray deeper. I don't need that stuff. We just want to know. We want to know. So we're going to get past that part. So we're going to start with disassembly today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to strip down the interior. Interior maybe, I don't know, looks nice, doesn't look nice, I don't know. Wow. Hi, Doug. Hi. It's cold enough out there for you? Did you park down here? You should have. You should park down here. There's plenty of room. Anyway, so we're going to start stripping down the interior. What I want you to know is this. God reveals idols in our hearts that keep us from being able to draw near to Him. This stripping down process can be painful. It can hurt, but it's a necessary part of restoring things. You start pulling off a door card from a 55 Chevy, you're probably going to break some body clips. It's going to hurt that panel. When God starts ripping into you, when you give Him permission to show you, Lord, I'm ready to be restored. Be careful. Because when you say, Lord, I'm ready to be restored, you show me, you better be ready to handle what He's going to show you. Because He will. And it's going to hurt. That's not me, Lord. Oh, yeah, it is. Well, maybe it is me. Self-reflection. And it might hurt. But you're going to be better after it's done. That's why I usually put it on my shirt. Okay. So let's break down what it means, because I'm a word guy, to strip something down. Furniture, paint, whatever, a vehicle, to take it apart. It's the meaning of strip. Not da-na-na-na-na, not that strip. But so it's, I guess technically it is to deprive of covering. So if you strip down on your clothes, you take your clothes off, you deprive, okay. It's to deprive or divest or to take away or remove something. That is the definition of to strip something. So we can deal with the first part of it, to deprive of covering. What does that mean? It all started in the garden. So remember Adam and Eve, right? Eve said, here, look, take this apple. And Adam said, no, woman, you're wrong. That's from the tree of knowledge. We're told, he went, nah, good apple. Crunch, 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 crunch. Then when God shows up, what's the first thing that happens? The first thing they realize is that they're naked. They're stripped down. They don't have any covering. Their sinful nature is being seen by God. They were naked and ashamed. Their instinct was to do what? Hide. Hide. When you have sin in your life, what's our natural defense? Is to hide it from people. I don't want people to know the sin in my life. But that's actually opposite of Scripture. We share our burdens with each other. It's a trust thing. If we don't have trust, we're not going to do it. So it's this big, giant circle of, if this happens, then this happens. If this doesn't happen, and we need to figure out how to get past that and start trusting people, trusting men in our lives. I spent a long time during my journey as a Christ follower having no godly men in my life. Because when I grew up in the church, I saw men who said, look at me, this is how you're supposed to do it. But then they didn't do it themselves. Do what I say, not what I do. Really? You're supposed to be an example. That means I should look to you and see something that I want to be. And I saw the hypocrisy. Maybe you have. Maybe you've seen it in your church. Maybe you've been very, very lucky and you've been in a church that the men are involved and they're spending time with people and they're loving you and they're discipling you. But I'm here to tell you, most churches aren't that way. They're just not. We as men have dropped the ball. We let the running of a church be done by women. And that's truth. It's not a male chauvinist thing. Thank God the women took care of the church when men dropped the ball. You don't believe me? Go look at most bathrooms, men's bathrooms in churches. There's flowers and there's, in there. Why? Because the women decorate the church. The women do this and the women do that. I was one of those men. I went to church because my wife drugged me there. I got ashamed not to. But was I leading my family? Nope. Not even close. She was doing a good enough job. But guess what, guys? It's not God's plan. Call it what you want. You men, myself, God has ordained us to lead our families. Spiritually, we're ordained to protect our families. We're ordained to make sure they're safe, to provide for our families. So when we get exposed and our covering gets taken off, we feel naked. If I were to look back and go, Ken, take all your clothes off. That would be really weird, and we wouldn't put it on the camera. But how do you think Ken would feel? I don't know, maybe he'd feel good about it. I don't know. But I think he would feel embarrassed. He would feel, or if we just went and stripped the stuff off of him and exposed him, who he is. I don't know, what you guys hide behind. But when I'm feeling exposed, I have some of my favorite fig leaves that I put in front of me. I hide behind them. God said those fig leaves aren't enough. So he gave them animal skins to wear. This is the covering I want for you, not what you think you need to hide behind. Think about that. What's your favorite fig leaf? When you feel exposed, what do you go to? What do you run to? Maybe just go run in your house and not go to church for a month. Or a year. Or whatever. I don't know. So the next part of that is to divest. Or to deprive. How many of you guys out here have been, you probably heard me say this before, so busy doing God's work that you don't have time to do God's work? I've been there. You look like this. Chicken with your head cut off, running around, doing this, doing that. Hey, could you help with worship? Yeah, I'll do that. Hey, can you do security? Yep, I'll do that. Hey, we got a couple men's group. Yeah, we got this going on. We got this going on. And you just say, yes, 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 yes. And you think, I got it. I'm at church all the time. I'm doing outreach. I'm doing this. I'm doing that for you. Which is not a bad thing to do things for God. The problem with that is you can get so busy doing God's work that you can't do what He's called you to do. Or you can be like the story of Mary and Martha. We know the story of Mary and Martha. So Jesus shows up at Mary and Martha's house. Mary and Martha are sisters. And I'll bring this up for you. Boop. There it is. It's in Luke 10, 38 through 40. It says, now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with so much serving. She's running around making sure the tables are nice and everybody's drinks are filled up. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve, to be busy doing this stuff alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things, but only one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. What Jesus was saying there was, it's okay to do work, but you have to spend time with me. When I'm here, spend time with me. The rest of the stuff will take care of itself. So how much time do you spend with God compared to doing your checklist stuff? I'm going to do it again. Checklist stuff. I used to be the yes guy. Yep, I'll do sound every Sunday. I'll do. Here's the problem with serving on worship. Serving, doing sound, or doing something in a service. How many guys have served in a service like that? Where you do, like you're the worship team. Do you really get anything out of that service that you're in? You don't, because you're so focused on doing your job, making sure it's done with excellence, which is great. But then my question is, do you go to a second service, or do you watch that service online, or do you get fed out of that service? Oh, I've been at church, man. I ran the cameras. I did, but what did you really get out of being at church when God was there, trying to tell you something? Hang on, Jesus. I can't listen right now. I got to make sure that the pastor's focused. It's great to do that because you should have excellence when you're doing it. But you missed that part. You missed the part of God going, hey, Nathan, I have something for you. You need to hear that. Hey, we're on the next page. There we go. So the third part is to remove or take away. This is a tough one, at least for me. Many things have been removed from my life, which I thought were the most essential things. And a lot of them are good things. God endeavors, though, for my health. Years ago, when I asked God to make me holy, to look at me, to form me into His image, He actually took me seriously. And He began to slowly strip away areas where I placed my treasure rather than in Him. I would place my treasure in war room men. I would place my treasure in war chest outreach. I would place it in my family. But our treasure needs to be placed with God and God alone. Right? Philippians 3:13 through 14 tells us, brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but only one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. I press towards the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. Your past is your past. We should be striving forward. We should be moving in the direction of Christ and growing, doing what it takes to move down the road, instead of just staying in one spot, building our treasure up in this thing or that thing. Maybe it's work. I don't know. I think we all have that place where we put our treasure, but that's an idol. It should all be placed in God. God and God alone. Yep, God alone. So let me ask you a question. What do you guys trust in more than the Lord? It's a rhetorical question. Because if we're sitting in church or we're sitting in a men's group or whatever, the answer is going to be, oh, nothing. That may or may not be true. Work. See? That's why I don't want any answers, because it's between you and God. But you know what you'd rather do than spend time with God. There's times that I'll just be the open book and honest with you guys. There's times that I have been watching Hulu TV and I've watched whatever, Pawn Stars, for the 82nd time, the same episode, I could, word for word, because I'm thinking there's nothing else for me to do. Wow. And I've caught myself doing it. I'm thinking, gee, I should be writing the message for Saturday morning. Kingdom of Heaven, I can watch that again on Amazon Prime. I've seen it 12 times probably. It's a great movie, but where are we putting our time? What are we investing in? God and God alone. God will break your dependence, if you ask him to, on anything other than himself, no matter how long it takes or how difficult the process may be. He's committed to bringing you to a place of holiness and spiritual maturity, conforming you to the likeness of his Son. 2 Corinthians 3:18, one of my favorite verses. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being what? Transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. Our goal is to progressively look more and more and more like Christ. More and more like Christ. That's it. Yep. So here's the question. I don't even know what time it is. Doesn't matter. Are you ready to begin your restoration? Man, we might get here early today. Are you ready for God to start restoring you? You can only answer that yourself, because I don't know where you're at. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if you're willing to do it. I can't tell you how many times I started the restoration process and went, we'll put it back in storage for a while. When they pulled that rear end out, it hurt. They started stripping the paint with that grinder. It hurt. It hurt me. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be an onion. Start peeling that skin off the onion. I don't know how many people have peeled an onion, but you can peel the first set apart, the first part of the skin off, and then eventually you get to the second layer, and then the third. But you can't peel the third layer until you peel the first layer. That's kind of how it works. God has to deal with stuff progressively through you, because you may not be ready for it. You may not be ready for it. So if you're ready to be restored, I'm going to ask you to pray this prayer with me, and it's David's prayer. It's a dangerous prayer. You better be ready for it. Because God will do what he says he will do, right? God doesn't lie. All right. So it's this one, Psalm 139, 23 through 24. And this is David talking to God. And he's saying, all right, Lord, search me. You have my permission to start the restoration. Search me and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Here's the crazy part. See if there's any offensive way in me. He's basically saying, God, the stuff that I've turned my back on and hidden so deep I don't even see it anymore, show it to me. Show me where I'm failing. Because until you realize it, you can't deal with it. If you don't strip the paint off of a car or a truck that you're restoring, or take it to the dip tank to get everything off of it, you don't know how much rust and bondo's in that thing. So you're saying, Lord, put me in your dip tank. Strip everything off and show me where my rust is. Show me where the dirt is. Show me where I need to be restored. The dents, some of these shows are interesting because I was watching one a couple weeks ago, and they brought this car in. Looked pretty good. Even all their experts went, yeah, the body's pretty straight, yada, yada, yada. Until they took it to the dip tank. When they brought it back from the dip tank, the door literally had a crease like this in the side of it, and they had just bondoed it. They didn't even pull it out. So was that repair done right? No way. It's eventually going to fail. But if they wouldn't have brought it to the dip tank, they probably never would have found it. Eventually, the rust, the repair, would have needed to be fixed again. It would have come back. When God restores us spiritually, that stuff is gone. Now, we may choose to go back and put it, drive through a salt tank. We may choose to do that. But that initial stuff is gone. He takes it upon himself. He took it upon himself on the cross so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. The question is, do you believe it? And do you want to be more like Christ? You can say no. That's what is awesome about the God we serve. He says, you don't have to be a robot, but life will be way better when you do it my way. Right? I know that for a fact. I try to do things my way. It don't work. I just mess things up. I'll goof things up, and usually costs me more time, more money, more everything else, or hurt people, whatever. Doing it my way. Search me, oh God. Show me where my rust is. And then we can deal with it. And that's kind of what this restoration thing is. We're going to look at car stuff, and we're going to use, this is what they do. This is what they don't do. This is how they figure things out. And we'll go through each one. Even into when we get to the body work. It's going to be interesting because once you're done, once you're finished, once you're ready to spray paint and everything's perfect, you can still make the choice to get a Mako paint job. Or you can get a $25,000 paint job. Everybody knows what Mako is, right? The home with a $399 paint job. Except your mirrors and your windshields are going to get painted and all your trim's going to get painted. They just go, here we go, and it's done. We still have to make decisions on who we're going to allow to restore us. And what kind of product and what type of stuff we're going to use. Sometimes we're going to need experts. If I were to go out to your car, whatever you drove, or if you do whatever, I use Jared as an example because he's got the charger. I know it's not. I know. But if I were to go to your house tonight, not that I'm going to, oh, God, if this happens, he's going to blame me. And open up your door and get underneath your dashboard and rip out the entire electrical system in that vehicle. I mean, unplug the engine stuff, everything, and set it on your kitchen table. Think you could put it back together? Do you think if you had it towed to a Dodge dealership, they could put it back together? Why is that? There you go. There's times in your life when you have, I can't put a windshield in. I mean, I could probably try. I know how to take them out. It's pretty easy. But putting it back in would be a little bit different. You need an expert. A lot of times as men, I'm talking to myself, telling you, where I was going through this, and still go through it at times. We don't want to go to the expert. We don't want to go to that guy at church that God's led us to that has the answer to our problem. How to put your electrical stuff. Not only will I tell you, but I'll help you. I'll disciple you in putting your electrical system back together. But we don't want to go there because now I've got to tell the expert, my electrical system's screwed up and I don't know how to fix it. That's being open. Because what are we afraid of? The electrical expert is going to come up at prayer time at church in front of everybody and go, we need to pray for Jared because his electrical system is screwed up. He's done things to it by his choice that are making things not work right. Shame on Jared. Now you've been exposed, so what are you going to do? Get a fig leaf. Well, got to go to the church. I ain't going to hang around with that guy. And that's the cycle that Satan wants us in as men. To not trust each other. To not trust godly men. Which in turn means you don't trust God. And he's got us there. He's got us going, if these men knew me, knew my past, know where I'm at now, and know the sin in my life, you won't come here. You wouldn't come to breakfast. Why would you listen to anything that I have to say? That's how the enemy works. But if we're honest and open with each other, with who God's put in our lives, he'll use that to fix us. If we allow him to. If we allow him to. And that's where we're going with this series. If you're not ready for restoration, you can come and listen, soak it in, do whatever. That's what we're going to be on for at least several breakfasts, except for the 14th of January, because I'm not going to be here. But I'm lining up a speaker for you. The first breakfast of 2023. You said we did 26 last year. You know why? Because when all this started, I said, the one thing that's going to happen is when we say we're going to do something and we're going to be open for breakfast, we're going to be open for breakfast. Whether it's 6 below zero, whether it's snow, whether it's whatever. Thank God Ken has the same opinion and he lives less than a mile from here. But I also understand that we are adults. And like I said, you make your own judgment call. There's no condemnation for the guys who aren't here. You guys went, hey, I'm going to be here. And you can think in your lives on your different events that are going on around Christmas right now. How many have been canceled already? Or moved? A lot. A lot. But the one thing we're going to do here is we're going to be here. We're going to have breakfast for you. We're going to have a message for you. Not pat staff on the back or anything, but I was here yesterday, and yesterday afternoon, making sure the furnace ran, getting things ready. And then God woke me up at 4:15 this morning and said, you need to be there. So I was here at 4:30, firing things up. Thank God I was. Because I told Ken, I didn't realize that fireplaces, if the chimney or the stack is so cold, it won't pull the smoke out until it gets warm enough. So it was like a bar at 4 o'clock in the morning in here. Because the smoke was coming in here. It wasn't going out the chimney until it got hot enough. I was like, wow. Something you learn. Something you learn. So I'm glad you guys came. Glad you guys got up this morning. Pray for safety on your way home. Be safe. And then my other challenge for you is, how many are going to spend time around unsaved family members at Christmas? Any of you? It's all, okay. I mean, share Jesus with them. Don't just sit and, because I don't want to offend somebody. Really? What if? That's your only opportunity. I can't tell you how many people this year from this group have passed away. We lost Steele Warner. Great man of God. Got COVID and ended up dying. Yeah. Who knows? I don't know if I have tomorrow. I don't know if you guys have tomorrow. Nick's been through a lot, right? Yeah, you don't know if you have tomorrow. You don't know if you have today, the rest of the day. Love on each other. Show them Jesus. Might be your only chance. All right. I'll go ahead and shut the camera and stuff off. I want to do prayer requests and stuff for Christmas and